Elksen de Keremleit, van Chesterfield wordt hij al zo in de club. Och, de belofting Elksen en Ocean de Kerabine, ze careful of Perhaps the magnificent of the dust. I'm enough for Miss by the mark of this night, Elksen and one of the gate, a little gate.
You'll sing, listen to the captain, keep a little get up, but the mother no, you know, no, One is like in the worst, and the worst, the worst, what's the word? Yes, for the hour, and a organ arm, and it all. Roll along, you'll sing, listen to the captain, no, getting up, but the mother. You'll sing, listen to the captain, keep a little getting up, but the mother. Every hour of the fun out, feeling now, you'll stop. And you'll listen to pull up back with a chirp. In them out, and sister, for Bob the big look and steady, enough to rope, work him a train him off, give the fish your barb for Bob and air, fill the mine, and we look at them. You've still lost in the lap, you'll off.
Equal to the gets, just. I don't so children, the winter after the where they get so them enough, and I don't see no stuff still on.
See the bear when the evening walk, the wagon walk, the east on the wall, see what the smash fire. Would you put an eye up and a wagon water up in the rope? Captain fish. Nasty deal with Captain Lil. Give me the back of the world, Lil. Give this way anymore. Helps the knife like a in the chirp.
Doing better, they get fancy up the lawn. Scalping isn't proper nurse, no more. More, these old the field, my good. That isn't proper sketching that, and this far. No, like there's a fine already built, much nurse details you on. That isn't proper thing about that, and hell, details there's a fine, you get cheap. Lost yellow, after the morning. Proper and all real facts will be dealing that, and hell, no, it's doing proper. What does the fire do turn proper to this afternoon, like cheap? I get a little so on. Going more, and as near down the wall, see it more than as next by your. These old in the rail fat. Give more and a fuzz in their house. These old girls on old folk as this is, I didn't know, I already beat one. Selfing isn't proper and nurse, and like it, hell now. That isn't proper skitting that, and that's this party. Self after knock bullets, more and our school, fun and like this a fight, so across the idea of on. That isn't proper this part and hell with the wheel is a fight, sketchy. The shooter lost yells, and like it. I'll rail fat, and like this look across the idea of self after knocking you boom. That now is during proper. Lost yell, lost yell. Gidel is a fight, it's half to me out. Oh, back to the fight, there's no proper, this is half and like. Far go. These old in the rail fat. Give more and a fuzz in their house. If they're more extended. Nurse to the phenomenal like they do. Hell run it. Hell no, it's getting it's half Britannia. Essence half is that. No more than that. Hell no, it's the sun. All of them see they lose the 12 stuff. She's looking out so fuck is nurse here that. Hell miss and the Lucy has a cab down near to often. Oh, it's the self in the nurse do. Snash is a fight of that. Hell no, it's that. Essence half see they Nash see they lose the dog. You have nurse in them like that. The best another old fool in that. Lush fell out with these half see they Self nearest nurse is that. And I'm saying this no, it's just from that. Fuck this a fight of see they is half in them like she. Poor fell down in it. Down near scale below. Eerst zie je lustig en ook scannen. Heb tellen tel. Toch en dan schiet ze benust hier net. Nurst. Ze zelf zijn eerst gezond maar goed. In bezul pakken de oor tellen tel. Zo aan. Ze hebben weer ze nurst net. Schiet ze nurst hier net. Echt zo pakken je de voet boos mijn neem hier. En als ze de spets zo shoot en ik niet weg. Zo pakken dat je lauw. Als ze dat spot naar recall zo pakken ze. Hier dat sta je dan maar zo pakken de en de surf volgt en af. Het is ook zo pakken je stelkjes zo in plaats van.
Oh, heard in the mouth, and I real pattern of risky me. Well, if you're there, well, never that. Oh, there's dropping of sun. Turn off the enough. Turn off the enough.
Gets naar ook zo missen er dat je zo'n hem nog ziet op stel. Je ziet de one. Op hem lijkt hij is sterk zien het. Dat je ziet zijn kracht en de shit mogelijk hebt. Zo je moet bij toester al woord zeer dat je missen aan de markt. Al vinden er nachts en hel nou is dit er leek zo recht. Maar kan mens carrot is er weer is. Al rug nee. En al zeg zo. Maar rail pattern kracht is niet meer like een alles en dat. Dat je vertellen de taak ben dat. Nee, dat zich niet dat scannen van dat. Tell let's get in de margin. Wat er maar rot is er. Los stel, zat zijn kracht. Ellen tel nou. Och, het is nou is net. En kracht van tel net skills los kans de nou is dus net tels in de sanos. Dat je niet ziet voor zijn kracht in de boom zit van nee. Ook zo had hem nee gevallen aan mij zei. She's a more fun is the red. Ja, after nog dat je naar is nou vol winnen. Het geldt net, hel nou is net. Dat je ziet veel er nog, nee maar is. Veel naar mij, och de nacht. Is net ook swingen beating er te maken, die neemt de licht weer een boom, maar het veel naar mij. Ja, dan dan get de wit blauw. Zo fel het hoogte, de broek, heb net ook nooit niet zo fel. Het is zelf boos dus net mas. Ik heb van elf missie. En ik broek bij het hoofd zit. Het schip troosje niet het naring op zit. Het als jou bij als die fjell. Is dat zo maar een specher? Ja, dat is even af voor in de term bij feller net. Elzin en aan maat, ja, naar helder. Hebben verlomsen die deel het troofs naar helder in de niet. Zo fel het op zee, dat is met troosjes get schiet. Dat is niet even zijn kracht niet op zit op. After Nielsen net. En after you're not the one. En after you're not the locket. Elders in our doctors as you want and militia. Wat hoofd van shits more er in that. Surf is a fast natural back earth. Wat in de kast is het already. Wat surf for day is een onzorg call you see for bucket. Ook stof next year in stemmen, but als known as natural back. Wat hoofd, wat is on children to do. Nee, ook, ze is er echt van de mastag ook voelden, dus ze stond er aan.
Eerst nog moeilijk dit in hem af, in hem af, in een huis, in mijn hel, in naast, en er echt er stap, in heaven, en hoogst en maar. Maar veel in mijn lijn, veel weer de veel in mijn lijn. Oh, er een kapping op zit. Ja, maar er is het al. Heel kerst. Overkersie. Verder nog deel op de snijden, maar niet. Snel kapner en is het al. Ook goed kapner en is het al. Wel, we gaan er niet door.
Ja, en ik hoop goed zit hij. Och, dan de weer sleeps er. Het vol schoster om pjammeting is naar de ook ziel skat. Is naar de schoster, maar locht zit de Willem voor zelf het omjong is naar de rosse.
I tried to do this. I was going to read this backwards, but it's not going to work. I should have recorded it and then, yeah. Anyways, I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films. That last film was American Square Dance, which was wound on the reel tails out, which meant that when we scanned it, it was upside down and backwards. And we can fix that in post. Yeah. But I figured, like, hey, why don't we try something different? Hopefully this next film about Hawaii will be okay. Enjoy.
Many of us think of Hawaii as a place of beautiful beaches and palm trees. But there is much more to see and learn about this island territory and about our fellow Americans who live here. As you probably know, Hawaii is located far out in the Pacific Ocean. Its position has made it a center of the great shipping lanes between North America, Asia, and Australia. Today, airlines are making Hawaii even more important as the crossroads of the Pacific. Hawaii is actually a group of many islands, which, taken together, have a land area about the size of New Jersey. The 5 largest islands are Kauai, Oahu, Molokai, Maui, and the largest, Hawaii, from which the whole group gets its name. All the islands are the tops of volcanic mountains that were thrust up from the bottom of the sea. The volcanic action that resulted in the formation of the islands is still visible on the island of Hawaii, where there are 3 active volcanoes. One of these, Mauna Loa, erupts about every 9 years and sends out great streams of molten lava that flow down the slopes of the great volcano. The molten lava, when cool, solidifies into lava rock. This lava rock, continually being worn down by the weather and pounded by the sea, is pulverized into sand. As the action of weather and sea continues over a long period of time, the pulverized lava decomposes into a rich soil. It is this fertile soil, plus a tropical climate, which makes the islands so productive. Scattered throughout the coastal plains and inland valleys are small farms. Here, tropical and semi-tropical crops, such as taro, rice, corn, and bananas, are grown. But the major crop of the islands is sugarcane, which is grown on big plantations. Sugarcane cultivation was begun by the Europeans who settled in Hawaii in the early 19th century. Today, sugarcane is the economic king of the islands. The cane is grown on the tropical lowlands, bordering the coast, where the climate is suitable for sugar production. It takes 18 months to 2 years for the first crop to ripen. During this time, cultivation requires much hand labor. To fill the great labor demand, workers were imported from other countries, largely from Asia. Today, about half the population of the islands is of Japanese or Philippine origin. Work on the sugar plantations goes on throughout the year. When a crop is mature, it is burned to remove the excess leaves. Then the stalks are harvested. Here we see the old hand method of harvesting with sharp knives, and the modern method, which uses this machine called a grab harvester. Labor-saving machines are part of the efficient system of running a modern sugar plantation. Each plantation has its own sugar mill. Some plantations have their own railroads for carrying the sugar cane to the mill, while others use trucks for the same purpose. In the mill, the cane is crushed and the juice is processed into raw sugar. The raw sugar is sent to the mainland United States to be refined into the white sugar that we use. Second in importance to sugar production is the pineapple industry. Pineapples grow on the plateaus above the cane fields. Workers of almost every nationality cultivate and harvest the pineapples, most of which are exported to the United States. As in the sugar industry, American industrial methods are used in handling the pineapples and preparing them for export. Above the sugar and pineapple plantations, on the cool, dry uplands, the land is suitable for grazing cattle. The rich, productive land of the islands, the pleasant climate, and a variety of natural beauty have attracted people from all parts of the world. First to arrive were the Polynesians, a Pacific race that probably came from islands far south of Hawaii. They settled the islands and cultivated tropical plants for food. Here a Polynesian shows us the native method of catching fish. The native Hawaiians used products of the land and sea for food and built houses of grass, similar to this. Today, this old Hawaiian or Polynesian culture has been replaced by a way of life which is much like our own. Most of the communities, such as Hilo on the island of Hawaii, resemble any other medium-sized American town. Largest city in the islands and capital of the territory is Honolulu, located on the island of Oahu. It is the political and commercial center of the territory. The city borders Honolulu Bay. Honolulu, the Hawaiian name for Fair Haven, is a major world port where ocean freighters bring food products and manufactured goods from the United States in exchange for Hawaiian pineapple and sugar. Ships also bring hundreds of tourists who are a big source of income for Hawaii. In Honolulu, visitors are introduced to one of Hawaii's oldest customs, the wearing of a garland of flowers called a lei. Hawaii's romantic past is recalled by the statue of the famous Hawaiian king Kamehameha, which looks out over modern Honolulu. The city itself is very much like any other American city, with stores, theaters, and modern transportation. English is the language of the islands, and 3/4 of the people are citizens of the United States. Orientals, Caucasians, and Polynesians have made Honolulu one of the world's greatest melting pots. We can see this mixture of many races in the children of Hawaii. They are an outstanding example of the way in which people of every color and race can learn to live, work, and play together. These boys and girls are practicing the meaning of democracy and American citizenship. Hawaii is proud of its university in Honolulu, its Academy of Art, and its parks and public buildings. Not far from Honolulu is the great naval base of Pearl Harbor, which played such an important part in the history of World War II. Also on Oahu are Hickam Field, an important Army air base, and John Rogers Airport, where great clipper ships come and go, connecting this crossroads of the Pacific with the rest of the world. Of all our possessions, Hawaii is probably the most unusual because of its island position, its pleasant climate, and its blending of a romantic Hawaiian culture with a mixture of other races and modern methods of working and living. The commerce and industry of today and the romantic history of the past, these together are modern Hawaii.
Ooh, that one was normal, right? So behind me I have a film scanner, and I have a film that I pulled from the back that we haven't seen from Centron. And I know it's Centron because it comes in an orange can, and it has a label that says Centron Films on it. So this is Water Safety, the Basics. Enjoy.
Swimming, boating, and fishing are three of our most popular outdoor recreational activities. If these three leisure pursuits were combined into the single category of water sports, it would by far outrank all other outdoor hobbies in America for popularity. These are lifetime sports. No one, it seems, is too old or too young to enjoy the water. But where there's water, there's also danger. Over 7,000 Americans drown every year. For people between the ages of 4 and 44, drowning is surpassed only by traffic accidents as the largest single cause of death. Many of these tragic drownings could be averted with just a little training and a little caution. To ensure your own safety around water, the most important precaution is also the most obvious. Learn to swim. Most drowning victims are people who don't know how to swim. You can learn the basics in just a few lessons in courses offered by local schools with pools and by organizations such as the American Red Cross, the YMCA, YWCA, Girl Scouts, or Boy Scouts. Almost as important is picking out a safe place to swim. A well-maintained pool or beach that's closely supervised by trained lifeguards is best. For your own protection, you should immediately obey the instructions of the lifeguards and observe all the local rules and regulations. If you swim or wade in an unsupervised area, your risks increase. Here are some things to check out before you go in. Make sure the water is unpolluted. Clear water adds to the safety, since murky water might hide broken glass, jagged tin cans, or other hazards. The bottom should slope gradually into deep water and be free of sudden drop-offs, holes, or obstructions. In an unfamiliar place, never dive or jump in until you've carefully checked the depth of the water and made sure that there are no logs, rocks, or other dangerous debris on the bottom. Avoid swimming in any places with strong currents or treacherous undertows. If you should ever be caught in a current, don't fight it by trying to swim directly against the direction of flow. Move with the water and at a diagonal to the current, angling toward shore. In any circumstance, avoid swimming by yourself. Use the buddy system. Even if there's a whole gang of you swimming together, pair off so you can keep an eye on each other's safety in the water. Inflatable rafts and balls can be fun, but it's a mistake to trust them to hold you up. They're toys, not life preservers, so play with them in the shallows where they belong. If there are little ones in the water, you can help them stay safe by keeping an eye on their water toys. If a ball floats out of the shallow water, a youngster may try to retrieve it and get into deep trouble. Most of the practices of good water safety are just common sense. For example, it's important to know your own limitations. If you overestimate your ability, or if you're tired or cold, you might not be able to make it out to that raft way out there in deep water. So don't even try it unless you're sure.
No, it's too dangerous. I can't swim that far. I don't think I can make it. Well, we all made it.
If you're swimming in water over your head and one of your muscles suddenly tightens and locks into place, it can be a terrifying experience. In dealing with cramps, the most important rule is don't panic. Keep your head. Cramps will often go away if you'll just relax your muscles and change to a different type of swimming stroke. If the Charlie horse or cramp doesn't go away, stay calm. Take a deep breath and allow yourself to sink just below the surface of the water. Now grab the cramped muscle with both hands and massage and knead it hard with your thumbs and fingers. Try to stretch the knotted muscles. This will usually bring relief. If the cramp is in your foot or toe, squeeze and massage the arch of your foot. When the cramp is broken, go directly to shore and continue massaging the muscle. Even if you can't ease the cramp, remain calm. Remember, you can swim with a cramp in your arm or leg if you don't panic. So far, we've been talking about safe swimming procedures. But the tragic fact is, 2 out of 3 people who drown don't plan to go in the water in the first place. They may fall from the shore, a pier or dock, a bridge, or a boat. Too often, a boater drowns because he or she didn't use common sense and observe a few simple rules. Here's a composite view of a floating disaster. How many things can you find wrong in this picture? Obviously, this is no place to operate a boat. Boats should always be kept well away from marked swimming areas and obstructions for the safety of both the innocent swimmers and the boaters. Too many passengers. Overloading a boat is an invitation to capsizing. They shouldn't be standing up. There's no excuse for standing in a small moving boat, even to change seats. If it's necessary to change places in a boat, head for shallow water first. Then switch one at a time. Keep your body low to avoid falling overboard. Sitting on the gunwales is asking for trouble. You can easily fall overboard or capsize the entire boat. Use the seats in a rowboat or motorboat and kneel or sit in the bottom of a canoe. This pair is flirting with drowning. Anyone who gets rowdy in a motorboat is asking for a disastrous massage from the whirling steel blades of the propeller. There are no life jackets on any of the passengers, or even the water skier. and no life preservers in the boat. The law requires at least one approved personal flotation device, or PFD, for each passenger on any boat. There are several types of PFDs. Types 1, 2, and 3 are designed to be worn as vests. Type 4 is a life preserver designed to be thrown to someone in the water. It may double as a boat cushion. Or it may be the ring style. This is not an approved PFD. Nor this, nor this. An acceptable personal flotation device must be approved by the U.S. Coast Guard. Look for this statement on any PFD. If it doesn't say Coast Guard approved, it won't satisfy the law. And it may not save your life when you're depending upon it. Big boats, 16 feet in length or longer, must have one approved vest-style PFD for each passenger, plus one approved throwable-style PFD on each boat. Law requires that smaller boats carry one personal flotation device of either type for each passenger. The PFDs must be within easy reach of the passengers, not stored away somewhere that would make it difficult to get to them in case of emergencies. But why not play it extra safe? Wear a PFD whenever you get into a boat. And make certain that children, elderly people, non-swimmers, and the physically or mentally handicapped wear PFDs whenever they're even near water. If you're ever in a boat or raft that swamps or capsizes, stay with the boat rather than trying to swim for a long distance to shore. Nearly all boats will continue to float, even if they're completely full of water. Your safest bet is to hang on and wait for help. Or, if the boat is right side up, climb back in and attempt to paddle it to shore. Use your hands as paddles if necessary. Watch this demonstration very carefully, because this technique can save your life, even if you don't know how to swim. First, stay calm. Slip out of your shoes. Avoid thrashing. This will only exhaust you. Now take a breath. Then slump forward in the water, allowing your face to drop just below the surface. Let your arms and legs dangle loosely. Stay calm. You won't sink to the bottom, but will float just under the surface, with the back of your head breaking the surface. When you want to take a breath, slowly raise your arms and separate your legs. Now bring your arms down and pull your legs together. Let out your breath as you rise to the surface. Keep your eyes open and take a breath. Return to the resting position by slumping forward again. Repeat this cycle whenever you want air. Don't wait until you're completely out of breath. At first, you may want to come up for air every 3 or 4 seconds. But if you're in the water for very long, you'll find that you can eventually relax and come up for air only 5 or 6 times a minute. Stay limp. Conserve your energy by keeping your movements slow and deliberate. Don't try to stand vertically in the water or attempt to lift your head completely out of the water. Using this technique, even a person who can't swim a stroke can survive for many hours in deep water. The next time you go to a pool or the beach, practice this system in chest-deep water. After a few minutes, you'll be convinced that you won't sink, and you'll gain confidence that you can survive. So far, we've been showing ways for you to protect yourself from drowning. However, someday, someone else may be in peril in the water and need your help. But never jump in the water and swim up to a frantic, struggling swimmer. There's a very good chance that both of you will drown. But even a complete non-swimmer can often save a life without endangering his or her own safety. The first step is to talk. This person must deal with the victim's panic. The rescuer must calm him so he can follow directions. You can give physical aid by throwing or pushing something that will float to the person who is in trouble. A PFD is best, but if none is handy, use whatever you can find. A beach ball, an ice chest, a piece of wood, a chunk of styrofoam, or even a spare tire may hold up a drowning person until you can help him or her to shore. Or hold out something the person can grasp. Use a paddle, a branch, a piece of rope, a towel, or even your shirt to extend your reach. If the victim is close to a pier or dock and you don't have any other means of rescue, lie flat, anchor yourself as shown, and hold out the other hand to the person in the water. If you try to stand up to pull them to safety, you may be pulled in the water. If there is no other choice, you may have to get in the water to help. Take a firm, solid hold on the pier and extend your leg for the person to grasp. Don't release your grip on the pier for any reason. A group of rescuers can extend their reach by forming a human chain. Use an interlocking grip like this to make certain the chain isn't broken. If you must go in by yourself to try to rescue someone, push some object in front of you for the victim to grasp. Speak calmly to the person as you approach. Don't let him get his hands on you. Keep the object between the two of you. If the victim panics and tries to climb over the object to reach you, let loose and move away. Don't risk your own safety. Continue to talk to the victim until he or she is calm enough to accept your rescue efforts without endangering you. If you'll just remember and practice the water safety hints shown in this film for avoiding dangerous situations, for surviving in deep water, and for rescuing others without placing yourself in a perilous situation, you'll be able to look forward to participating in America's favorite outdoor activities with a great deal of pleasure, confidence, and safety.
Dangerous massage. That was a weird euphemism. Anyways, excuse me. Centron. We love it. All right. What I'd like to know is how can algebra help me in my everyday life? I don't think it can. Let's find out. Enjoy.
Tonight's the big spring review in the school auditorium. And Grace still has to paint the rest of this set. She painted part of it yesterday, but ran out of paint. She can mix red and yellow to match the orange with fresh paint, but as the paint dries, it darkens. This is no way to get the job done, as Jim, the stage manager, reminds her in no uncertain terms. They must know the accurate proportions of paint to mix.
How did you mix the first batch, Grace?
Well, I use these. Only I don't know how much more paint I'll need or how much to take out of each of the other cans.
Well, that shouldn't be so hard. I think maybe we can use algebra to find out.
Algebra?
Sure.
How does algebra come into this?
It'll give us the correct answer. You know, this is just like a problem we had in algebra class yesterday. Now, you watch.
How much paint is needed? The first step in the algebraic process is observation. Jim observes that there are 5 equal-sized panels in this set. 3 have already been painted, and 2 remain to be painted. They know that for painting the 3 panels, they used 1 quart, or 32 ounces, of red paint, and 1 pint, or 16 ounces, of yellow, making 48 ounces in all for the 3 panels. That's 16 ounces for each panel, or 32 ounces of paint needed for the 2 remaining panels. Jim has answered their first problem, how much paint, through observation, mathematical reasoning, and simple arithmetic. Now they know that the relationship between 3 panels and 48 ounces of paint is the same as the relationship between the 2 remaining panels and 32 ounces of paint. But how much red and how much yellow to match the color? To answer that problem, Jim must take the next step in the algebraic process. Translate his observations into a shorthand algebraic language. Let R equal number of ounces of red paint and Y equal number of ounces of yellow. Then R plus Y equals 32. Now Grace is beginning to see how algebra will help them. To match the paint she used yesterday, they'll have to use twice as much red paint as yellow. Expressed in the language of algebra, R equals 2Y. Now for the final step in the algebraic process, manipulation and computation. Since R equals 2Y, Jim can replace the R of his original equation by 2Y and solve for the value of Y. If 3Y equal 32 ounces, then Y equals 10 2/3, and R equals 2Y, or 21 1/3 ounces. 21 1/3 ounces of red paint needed in the mixture to match the original shade of orange. In order to benefit from the mathematical reasoning and the exact answer that algebra gave them, Grace and Jim use exact measurements in mixing the paint. All that precise thinking and figuring wouldn't be worth much if they didn't apply it just as carefully.
Guess algebra really is worth something after all. But I'm still not so sure about getting a problem started. I can see what to do with the equation, but how do I know what to put into it?
There is nothing mysterious about algebra. It is only a language of numbers, a clear language of mathematical reasoning, which does not leave room for trial and error guesses or wrong definitions. The symbols of algebra represent specific measurable values. But to get those values, hold on, why is Grace taking candy? Because she wants candy. But why that piece? She wants a big piece. Exactly. She observed the various pieces in the box. She compared relative sizes and chose the piece she wanted. She used observation and mathematical reasoning, thinking in the language of algebra. Jim observes that someone has eaten a lot of candy. The next step in algebra is translation. Jim can translate the observed picture of missing candy into a sentence. Let each empty wrapper be a symbol for each piece of candy that's no longer here. Now, Grace wants to know how much candy there was in the box originally. So she translates her observation into a shorthand algebraic sentence. X, the number of pieces originally, equals W, the number of empty wrappers, plus P, the number of pieces left. Thus, by observation, translation, and manipulation and computation, Grace finds the answer to her question, how many pieces of candy were in the box originally?
But that isn't really algebra. Well, I could figure out that sort of thing long before I studied algebra.
Nevertheless, that was algebra. Many of us use algebra constantly in our daily lives without knowing that we do so. We use algebra whenever we make a statement of things we know around a center of things we don't know but want to know. The difference between arithmetic and algebra is that arithmetic is used in solving the equations of algebra. To study algebra, to learn the more complex uses and applications of algebra, will give us knowledge which will always be important. For algebra, the language of mathematics helps us better to understand our world and improve our lives. Algebra answers questions. How thick must this wire be to carry the current? How much electric current for these lamps? How strong must these towers be? How much diesel fuel for this train? How many ties under each mile of track? How many calories of food do we need? Algebra helps us to answer questions. In developing better food, better housing, and better living for everyone. The 3 steps of algebra: observation, translation, and manipulation and computation. These are the means of using algebra to help us see and solve the problems of living in our world. Some of us want to study algebra because we are going to be engineers, or accountants, or auditors, or technicians, people who use algebra every day. But all of us continually face problems in engineering, in accounting, and in various technical fields. Algebra, the scientific method, and mathematical reasoning. The better we understand them, the better we can use them to solve problems we face in everyday life.
Who knew? I mean, that's the thing, is like, I heard it so many times when I was in high school taking algebra. Basically, well, like, when are we going to ever use this? And I was like, you don't know? Like, look. Well, this film totally explains it and does a great job. This next film I showed much earlier, a couple of years ago, or maybe it was like earlier this year, but I showed the Arabic version, which was in black and white. This is in full Kodachrome, and it's in English. Enjoy.
Let's drop in on a rehearsal of the Acrobatics Club. There, that's real balance and poise. The teamwork we're watching represents one of many ways to build balance and poise, along with skill, strength, and general physical fitness. And there are other things to be gained from this sort of activity. And to find out what they are, let's meet some of the members of this group. This is Ernie Allen. Note the well-developed body, no surplus of soft fat. Here's Hal Thompson. Notice his alertness, his bright interest. And meet Jean Taylor. She's a living example of poise and confidence. Anyone in the Acrobatics Club could tell us a story of how much he has gained from it. But we'll concentrate on these three: Ernie, and Jean, and Hal. First, Ernie. A year or so ago, Ernie was in a rundown condition. He always seemed to have a cold or sore throat. Any sickness that was going the rounds was bound to get Ernie. And sometimes there were more serious illnesses. Finally, as Ernie was recovering from this one, the doctor suggested a 3-point program for health: sleep, regular rest, right eating, a sound, balanced diet, and exercise when Ernie felt stronger. Ernie's instructor gave him the cues. Take it easy at first. Don't overtire. And while Ernie built himself up for the time when he could actually play basketball, he was learning the skills of the game. As time passed and Ernie grew stronger, he increased his daily quota of activity. And it's important that it be regular. And Ernie tried some exercises to supplement his sports program. Here's one to build up those abdominal muscles. It wasn't long before Ernie began to feel the benefits of his regular exercise. A little exercise every day. Here's a trunk stretching exercise to strengthen a number of muscles. See how the hips act as a pivot. Ernie still has a cold now and then, but now that he's stronger, he can shake off illnesses more readily. Ernie found that he could build good health and enjoy it. And certainly everyone here has sound health. Exercise builds good health. What about Jean Taylor? What's her story? We've remarked on Jean's poise and self-confidence, but not so long ago, Jean felt lethargic and awkward. And feeling awkward, well, let's see what happens. Yes, Jean was pretty shy. Jean wondered if she could do something to make friends easier. A couple of days later, she was still wondering. And then she saw one way other people make friends. That's right. Engage in sports. But no, Jean wouldn't dare. She'd be so clumsy and awkward. But the point is, of course, that you have to learn how to play. Jean thought she might try it. Maybe once she learned the skills of the game, she would gain poise and self-confidence. So Jean finally took the big first step and got started with some physical activity. Besides badminton, Jean used simple exercises to build control of her muscles for better posture. Here's a good exercise to develop poise and balance. It's called a tour jeté. Over a period of days, try to increase the number of times you can do this before getting tired. Jean's exercises improved her badminton and her poise. She had started out wanting to meet a few people, to make friends. So when Hal invited her to join the acrobatics club, don't think Jean wasn't pleased. Yes, Jean made social contacts and friends. That's another way exercise has helped. Jean's a happier girl, as well as a healthier one. Now, what got Hal started with the acrobatics club? He has plenty of social contacts, and he has enjoyed fairly good health. So what was his need for physical activity? Not long ago, Hal was all work and no play. He took his studies seriously, which is all right, except that he didn't give himself time for anything else. Study, study, study. And then, after school, a job, filing papers. And that work is no more active than studying. So it's not surprising that Hal began to make mistakes. He had a steady diet of thinking, and he had no release for nervous energy. He became tense and irritable. He needed some other activity as an outlet for his emotions. Some activity more strenuous than shutting file drawers and holding books. Hal had to find out for himself that he needed physical activity. Then one day he found this passage. Physical activity can provide excellent release for nervous tensions. Exercise increases the rates of respiration and circulation and serves as a stimulus as well as a release for nervous tension. The pleasing tiredness that follows exercise promotes complete relaxation. Well, to Hal, that meant just one thing. He determined to have a program of exercise. So, after talking it over with his physical education instructor, he learned a few exercises that led him to an interest in tumbling. Try this to stretch the muscle fibers and tendons at the back of your knees. Go easy at first, until you feel the stiffness leaving. Hal usually spends some time chinning to strengthen the muscles of his upper arms, shoulders, and back. By taking time for some exercise every day, Hal finds an outlet for his nervous tension and does even better work at his studies and on the job. What of the others of this group? Why are they here? Probably their reasons are similar to Ernie's and Jean's and Hal's reasons. Perhaps they want exercise to increase their strength and endurance and to improve their balance and flexibility. Perhaps they want to establish outlets for their emotional tensions. Perhaps they want to gain poise and self-confidence and meet new friends. Of course, tumbling is only one of the many ways to obtain exercise. Athletic sports involve team play and team competition, and so are especially good ways of building health and releasing emotional tension. These activities bring large groups of muscles into action and train groups of muscles to work together. And milder, less vigorous sports still have the advantage of outdoor activity. And although not everyone can take part in team athletics, almost anyone can find some source of exercise with little or no equipment. Talk it over with your physical education instructor or your doctor. It's up to you to see that your body gets the activity it needs for better physical and mental health.
The end of a home movie is just the beginning of our story. Choosing books to read. What does Don's first home movie have to do with choosing books?
Well, I knew my film wasn't very good. That's why I asked Jack to see it. Jack had made several films of his own. He thought I ought to do some reading about filmmaking, so he offered to let me look through his books on film.
A helpful friend. One good way among many of choosing books. You might be interested in other things. Sports, art, science, or even motion pictures like Don. But whatever you're interested in, friends can be of great help in matching books to your own tastes. But friends don't know your taste as well as you do. So, sampling the contents of a book is important.
The first book I looked at seemed too advanced, so I asked Jack if he had something more basic. The next book was just what I wanted. Jack showed me a section on close-up shots. I couldn't help remembering a scene from my film where you could hardly tell it was Sue. The book explained how to frame a close-up properly. The author's way of writing, his style, was clear and simple, and his examples were very interesting. I understood what he was getting at. I guess I liked what he said, and how he said it.
There may be many books on one subject, but not all authors write in the same way. With Jack's help, and by sampling the contents, Don chose a useful book.
I went to the library after reading Jack's book. I was ready for more. The librarian told me that there was a whole section on film. She showed me where it was and suggested that I just look around. You know, browse through the books.
Browsing in the library is another good way to get a general idea of what books are available. Whatever your interest is, there are books devoted to it in the library. You just have to look. Titles may give clues to the contents of a book. The word advanced in a title tells a beginner the book's probably not for him. Of course, titles are only a clue. The best way to find out about a book is to sample its contents.
I thought I'd found a good book, but when I looked through it, it seemed too simple. So I went to the card catalog to look through the short descriptions of the books on the cards. First I tried film. The card sent me to moving pictures. I thought, this looks interesting. Making and showing your own movies. Recommended all-around book for the young filmmaker. 1939. Wow. Movies sure have changed a lot since then. It's a good thing they tell you the publication date. I was getting a little discouraged when I realized something. There might be another book by Philip Grosset. He was the author of the book I borrowed from Jack. There was another book of his, the complete book of amateur filmmaking. I figured I'd probably enjoy another one of Grosset's books. Luckily, the one I wanted was on the shelf.
Choosing other books by an author that you like can work for you, too. For instance, if you like this book by Aldous Huxley, then you'll probably enjoy choosing another book of his, The Island. If you enjoyed 1984 by George Orwell, you might like other books of his.
Sure enough, Grossett's new book was just as helpful as the older one. One section explained what I should have done to keep my scene composition from looking so bad. Now I knew how to do it better. Grossett used the same interesting style he used in his other book. As I read, I could picture all the things I could do to improve my next movie. As I got more interested in the subject, I thought I ought to own some books on movie making. So I visited bookstores.
Browsing in bookstores is another way to find and choose books. Whatever your interests are, inexpensive paperbacks are easy on the pocketbook, and they offer many of the best editions. But there are certain things to watch out for. Titles may be just designed to arouse your curiosity.
I found that you have to be careful about titles. Sometimes they can be misleading. I remember one book I picked out. The title promised exciting new concepts, but the whole book just told about how the author and his wife had made corny movies of their vacations. But I've also found some really great books with pretty ordinary titles. I remember one I almost put back without even looking inside, because the title didn't seem very exciting. But then I figured, what have I got to lose? I was sold on the book when I came to a chapter on zoom lenses. I remembered how I had made everyone seasick with so many jerky zooms. The author said that overdoing the zoom is a common mistake made by beginners, and that generally you should use it only to emphasize a particular part of a scene.
Besides titles, other clues to content sometimes can be found in the short claims and descriptions that some books have on their covers or jacket flaps. These claims can be helpful guides, but remember, they always present the book in the most favorable way. They're meant to help sell the books. Some books also show biographies of the author. Checking the author's experience can also help you choose the right book.
I was having trouble deciding between two books on camera work, but I read the biographies of the authors. The first book was written by a well-known film producer who had made a lot of speeches about films, but he just wasn't a cameraman. The man who wrote the other book, though, had professional experience behind a camera. I figured he had to know what he was saying. So I bought some books and kept finding more in the library. I widened my film reading in another direction. Since I always liked history, I got interested in the old silent movies. When I told the librarian about my interest, she showed me a subject guide to books in print. It listed almost every book still available on all subjects, including the one I was interested in, the old silent movies.
There are also many other specialized listings of books that will fit almost any special interests.
After I found a book I wanted in the listing, I checked the card file to see if the library had it. My favorites were about some of the old silent film comedians.
Sometimes you can get good ideas for books to read by seeing a play or a movie. A movie he liked led Don to the book it was based on by William Golding. He used the listing in the book to find other books by the same author. Book sections of newspapers, book reviews, and book columns are also good ways to learn about new books, as well as to get opinions about them. But they are opinions. You may not always agree with a particular reviewer. Sometimes it's a good idea to sample the book yourself.
So, for choosing books, there were things that helped me. The card catalog, the special listings, reading over parts of books, you know, skimming to see if I liked the author and his style, and, well, just finding out all I could about the books. And I asked for help when I needed it.
Knowing how to choose books is a skill that's worth developing.
It sure helped me make better movies.
What? My dear child, we haven't had school or books in ages.
No school? Really?
Why don't you get rid of that school book? You can drop them in here.
It'll get all burned up in there.
Well, of course it will, dear child. And so it should. Books tamper with man's basic, natural ignorance. Now, what could be worse than that?
But I can't burn this book. It's school property.
Nonsense! Apple sugar. You just need to get into the mood.
Books are not where it's at, teaching you how to spell cat. I know you'd rather play, so why don't you throw all your books away? Books are made for burning, the fire is already yearning to put an end to any learning.
1, 3, 5, 9, throw 'em in the fire's dry.
Put the books in the fire, see the flames growing higher. Burning books is our heart's desire.
2, 4, 6, 8, time to incinerate.
Books will not make you wise, and reading's bad for your eyes. I am sure you agree, so why don't you give all your books to me? Books are made for burning, fire is already yearning to put an end to any learning.
This one here is very good about a man named Robin Hood.
Put the books in the fire, see the flames growing higher. Burning books is our heart's desire.
Though I never liked Tom Sawyer, I won't be a book destroyer.
Books can only confuse, teaching you things you can't use. You should listen to me. Burning your books will set your mind free.
Books are made for burning, fire is already yearning to put an end to any learning. Put the books in the fire, see the flames growing higher. Burning books is our heart's desire. Books are made for burning, fire is already yearning. Put
All right, that was a long run there, but yes, of course, you knew that I would have that Magnificent Major clip. Books are for burning. If you're new to our channel, I show that occasionally when there's something related to fire or books or reading. Any opportunity I get to show that clip. And it is part of a series that was called Unicorn Tales, and it was made by a guy who later created a lot of the performances for the Chippendale Dancers, and then was killed execution style by his business partner. There is a salacious, I think it's on Hulu, that talks about it, and they basically show a clip from one of the Unicorn Tales things which he appears in. Now, that's not the guy who was the singer. The guy who's the singer here, unfortunately, like many performers in the late 70s, early 80s, passed away due to AIDS. It's just kind of what happened. But Tisha Campbell is still around, and phenomenal singer. And that film, every time I show it, that clip, it gets more and more important and relevant. And so it's interesting when I show it. I know how to close with a downer, Skip. Yes, I'm sorry about that. There's joy to be found in this film. The people behind it, the 70s was a hard time for a lot of people. And so the people that survived it feel glad that you survived it. Anyways, thanks for tuning in today. We watched a lot of films, and I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your eyeballs. I will watch some more tomorrow. Everybody take care.